Hannah Voss stared at the rejection letter on her screen for the third time. The words blurred together as her eyes filled with tears. Another position denied. Another door closed in her face. She deleted the message and leaned back in her chair, looking out the window of her small quarters on New Andara Station. The massive space station buzzed with activity. Ships came and went every hour, carrying people from dozens of different worlds. Traders, diplomats, scientists, and travelers, all mixed together in the corridors. But Hannah always felt alone in the crowd. She touched her face, feeling the slight ridges along her cheekbones that marked her Altarian heritage. Her eyes held the golden flecks of her Centaurian father. Most people saw these features and immediately knew what she was, a mixed blood. Someone who didn't belong to any group. Her mother had been an Altarian diplomat. Her father was a Centaurian trade negotiator. They met during peace talks 29 years ago and fell in love. For a brief moment, their two peoples seemed ready to work together. Hannah was born during that hopeful time. But the peace didn't last. Old conflicts returned. The alliance fell apart. Her parents divorced when she was 5. Each returned to their home worlds, leaving Hannah with distant relatives who saw her as a reminder of failed dreams. Now she worked as a research coordinator on New Andara Station. It was a decent job, but far below her abilities. She had degrees in xenobiology from 3 different universities. Her research papers had been published in major journals. Yet every time she applied for a better position, the answer was always no. The door chimed. Hannah quickly wiped her eyes and opened it. Her supervisor, Dr. Kellyan, stood in the hallway. He was pure Altarian, with the pale blue skin and completely silver eyes of his people. "Hannah, we need to talk," he said, walking into her quarters, without invitation. She gestured to a chair, but he remained standing. His silver eyes looked cold as they studied her face. "I've received complaints about your work," he said. Hannah felt her stomach drop. "What kind of complaints?" "Several colleagues have said you're not fitting in well with the team. There are concerns about your background affecting your judgment." "My background?" Hannah's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. "What? Does that have to do with my research on quantum biology?" Dr. Kellyan's expression didn't change. "Mixed individuals sometimes have conflicted loyalties. The board thinks it might be better if you focused on simpler tasks for a while. Data entry, file organization, basic lab maintenance." "You're demoting me." "I'm reassigning you to duties more suitable for someone with your unique situation." Hannah stood up, her hands shaking with anger. "I've published more papers than half your department. My research on cellular regeneration could help millions of people across the galaxy." "Yes, well, pure research requires pure thinking. I'm sorry, but the decision is final." He left without another word. Hannah sank back into her chair, staring at the closed door. 28 years old, and her career was already over. All because she had the wrong mix of genes. Her communicator buzzed. A message from Kale Torvin appeared on the screen. She had been dating the young Altarian engineer for 3 months. Maybe he would have some encouraging words. "Meet me at the Starlight Lounge tonight. Important news to share." Hannah felt a small spark of hope. Perhaps Kale had heard about a job opening. Or maybe he just wanted to spend time with her after this terrible day. She put on her best dress and made her way to the lounge. The Starlight Lounge was the most popular gathering place on the station. It had big windows showing the stars and nebulas outside. Most of the station's important people came here to socialize and make deals. She found Kyle at a table near the center of the room. He was talking with several other Altarians. As she approached, their conversation stopped. They all looked at her with expressions she couldn't read. "Hannah," Kyle said, standing up. His voice was louder than necessary. "I'm glad you came. I wanted to tell you something in front of everyone." A cold feeling grew in her stomach. This didn't sound like good news. "I've been offered a position with the Altarian Science Division," Kale announced. "It's a great opportunity, but they require all their staff to maintain certain standards." The room had grown quiet. Other tables were turning to watch. "What kind of standards?" Hannah asked, though she was beginning to understand. "Genetic purity, professional integrity, Association with appropriate individuals. Kale's words hit her like physical blows. She saw several Altarians nodding in agreement. A few Centaurians at nearby tables were also listening with approval. "So this is goodbye," Kale continued. "I can't let my career be damaged by association with mongrel blood." The words hung in the air like poison. Hana felt every eye in the room on her. Some looked disgusted. Others seemed embarrassed. A few appeared to enjoy her humiliation. She turned and walked toward the exit, trying to keep her head high. Behind her, she heard Kale's friends congratulating him on his wise decision. Someone laughed about half-breeds thinking they could fit in with real people. Hana made it to the corridor before the tears started. She ran through the station's maze of passages until she reached the lower levels where she wouldn't meet anyone she knew. She found herself in the maintenance section, sitting on a bench near the humming machinery that kept the station running. The tears came freely now. All her life, she had tried to prove she was good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. But it never mattered. She pulled up her personal files and started writing a resignation letter. Maybe she would find a small colony world somewhere that needed a basic lab technician. Somewhere she could disappear and stop pretending she belonged among civilized people. "Excuse me, are you okay?" Hana looked up to see a man in maintenance, coveralls standing nearby. He had the dark hair and brown eyes of a human. She had seen a few humans on the station, but they mostly kept to themselves and worked in jobs nobody else wanted. "I'm fine," she said, wiping her eyes. "You don't look fine, and nobody comes down here unless something's really wrong." He held up a small container. "Want some soup? It's not fancy, but it's warm." Hana stared at him. No one had offered her kindness in months. "Why would you help me?" The human shrugged. "Because you look like you need help. I'm Jiho, by the way. Park Jiho." Hana Voss. He sat down on the bench, beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "So what brings you to the exciting world of coolant recycling systems?" Despite everything, Hana almost smiled. "Just having the worst day of my life." "Want to talk about it?" She looked at this human who had no reason to care about her problems, but something in his eyes reminded her that kindness still existed in the galaxy, even if it came from the most unexpected places. "Actually," she said, "I think I would." 3 weeks later, Hana found herself walking through the maintenance levels again. She told herself it was just a shortcut to the lab where she now spent her days organizing sample containers and cleaning equipment. But she knew the real reason. She was looking for Jiho. Since that first night when he shared his soup, she had returned to the lower deck several times. Each visit felt natural, like seeing an old friend. Jiho never asked why she came. He just welcomed her with a smile and shared whatever simple meal he was eating. Today, she found him working inside a large electrical panel. Sparks flew as he connected wires with steady hands. His face was focused but calm, like someone who enjoyed solving problems. "How do you know which wire goes where?" she asked. Jiho looked up, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Experience, mostly. Plus, these old human-built systems have a logic to them. Everything connects in ways that make sense once you understand the pattern." "The station was built by humans?" "The basic structure, yeah. About 60 years ago, when humans were trying to join galactic society. We designed it to last and be easy to repair." He pointed to various components. "See these junction boxes? A Centaurian engineer would use automated systems that need specialized parts. An Altarian would build something elegant but fragile. Humans? We make things simple and strong." Hana sat on a nearby crate, watching him work. "Why did you come to space, Jiho?" His hands paused for a moment. "My wife always dreamed of seeing other worlds. We planned to travel together once we saved enough money." His voice grew quiet. "She died in a transport accident 3 years ago. I came out here because staying on Earth reminded me too much. Of all the places we never got to visit." "I'm sorry. It's okay. Nari would have laughed at me moping around our apartment in Seoul. She always said the best way to honor lost dreams is to find new ones." He closed the panel and gathered his tools. "What about you? What brought you to New Andara?" Hana had told him parts of her story during their previous meetings, but never the whole truth. Today felt different somehow. "I came here because I thought it would be different. A big station with people from everywhere. I hoped someone would judge me by my work instead of my genes. But they didn't. No. If anything, it's worse here. On smaller worlds, people might ignore me or treat me badly, but at least they're direct about it. Here, everyone pretends to be civilized while they destroy my career behind closed doors. Jiho set down his tools and gave her his full attention. Tell me about your research, the real work, not the filing they have you doing now. Hana felt a familiar excitement as she began describing her quantum biology studies. She explained how certain cellular structures could exist in multiple states simultaneously, and how understanding this might lead to new medical treatments. So you could potentially cure diseases that affect multiple species at once? Jiho asked. Exactly. Most treatments only work for one species because their biology is so different, but quantum cellular structures might be universal. She paused, realizing how enthusiastic she sounded. I'm sorry I get carried away talking about science. Don't apologize. It's amazing. Why aren't you working on this instead of organizing lab supplies? The question brought back all her frustration. Because Dr. Kellyan says mixed people can't think clearly about complex problems. Because the research board thinks my background makes me unreliable. Because everyone assumes I'm not smart enough for real science. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. His blunt response surprised her. What? On Earth, some of our greatest discoveries came from people who didn't fit the normal patterns. Scientists whose families came from different countries, who spoke different languages, who saw problems from angles nobody else considered. Jiho picked up a small device from his toolkit. This scanner was invented by a woman whose parents came from opposite sides of the planet. She combined techniques from both cultures to create something completely new. Hana had never heard anyone talk about mixed heritage as an advantage before. But surely that's different. Humans are all the same species. Are we? My grandmother grew up in a mountain village where they believe spirits live in every tree. My other grandfather was a physicist who thought the universe was just math and energy. When my parents met, both families said they were too different to make it work. Jiho smiled. But I grew up understanding both science and intuition, logic, and faith. It made me a better engineer. You really think being mixed could be a strength? I think the galaxy is facing problems that can't be solved by any single way of thinking. Maybe what they need is someone who understands multiple perspectives. They talked for another hour. Jiho told her about Earth's history, about times when different groups fought each other over small differences. But he also shared stories of how those same differences created amazing art, science, and culture when people learned to work together. As they walked back toward the upper levels, Hana felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Jiho, she said as they reached the turbo lift. Would you like to have dinner tomorrow? In my quarters, I mean. I could cook something. I'd like that very much. The next evening, Hana prepared a meal combining Altarian spices with Centaurian preparation methods. She had never cooked for anyone before, but Jiho ate everything with genuine enthusiasm. This is incredible, he said, trying a dish of crystallized vegetables and sweet sauce. How did you learn to cook like this? I had to learn recipes from both sides of my family. Neither group would teach me their traditional foods, so I experimented until I found combinations that worked. So you created fusion cuisine. I created whatever kept me fed, she laughed. After dinner, they sat by her window watching ships come and go from the station. Jiho showed her pictures on his personal device, images from Earth, from his travels, from his life with Nari. She was beautiful, Hana said, looking at a photo of Jiho and a smiling woman standing in front of some kind of monument. She was. But more than that, she was kind, like you. Hana felt warmth spread through her chest. You think I'm kind? I think you're one of the kindest people I've met. You've been hurt by so many people, but you still helped me understand the station's water recycling system last week. You still say hello to the junior technicians who others ignore. You still believe in making the galaxy better through science. Maybe I'm just too stupid to give up. No, Jiho said firmly. You're brave enough to keep trying. As the weeks passed, their friendship deepened. Hana began spending most of her free time in the maintenance levels, helping Jiho with repairs while they talked about everything from quantum physics to Earth music to their dreams for the future. Other people started to notice. Her few remaining Acquaintances among the station's scientific staff began avoiding her completely. Dr. Kellyan made comments about inappropriate associations with primitive species. Even some humans she passed in the corridors looked at her strangely, but Hana found she cared less about their opinions every day. For the first time in her life, she had found someone who valued her mind, respected her heritage, and enjoyed her company without wanting anything in return. One evening, as they worked together replacing burnt-out circuits in a power distribution center, Jiho said something that made her stop and really look at him. "You know, Hana, I think you're exactly the kind of person the galaxy needs more of." "What do you mean?" "Someone who bridges differences instead of building walls. Someone who creates solutions instead of just pointing out problems. Someone who sees the best in people even when they don't deserve it." Hana felt her heart skip a beat. She realized that somewhere in the past few weeks, her feelings for Jiho had grown beyond friendship. He wasn't just kind to her. He made her feel like she had value, like she belonged somewhere. For the first time since leaving childhood, Hana Voss felt truly happy. The announcement came on a Tuesday morning. Hana was organizing chemical samples in the lab when every screen on the station switched to the Galactic Council's emergency broadcast channel. Counselor Vex Althan appeared first, his silver Altarian, eyes cold and serious. Behind him stood Minister Court Zanus, the Centaurian representative whose blue-scaled face showed no emotion. "Citizens of the galaxy," Counselor Althan began, "we face a crisis that threatens the very foundation of our civilized society. For too long, we have allowed the mixing of species to weaken our genetic heritage and dilute our cultural identities." Hana's hands froze on the sample containers. A sick feeling grew in her stomach. "Therefore," Minister Zanus continued, "the Galactic Council hereby announces the Purity Initiative. This program will ensure that each species maintains its unique strengths and characteristics for future generations." The announcement continued with details that made Hana's world crumble around her. Mixed heritage individuals would be removed from positions of authority. They could not hold research permits, military ranks, or government jobs. Marriage between species would be heavily regulated, and existing mixed couples would face new restrictions. These measures are necessary, Counselor Althan explained, to preserve the distinct advantages each species brings to our galactic community. Purity of blood means purity of purpose. When the broadcast ended, Hana looked around the lab. Her few co-workers avoided her eyes. Dr. Kellyan appeared in the doorway with a satisfied expression. "Well, that settles things," he said. "I'll need you to clear out your desk by the end of the day. Mixed individuals can't hold research positions anymore." "But I haven't been doing research," Hana protested. "You have me filing and cleaning equipment." "Any position in a research facility is now prohibited. There's a job opening in waste management, if you're interested." Hana felt the walls closing in around her. "What about my education? My published papers? My years of experience?" "None of that matters now. The council has spoken." That evening, Hana sat in her quarters staring at her personal belongings. Everything felt meaningless. Her degrees, her awards, her research notes, all worthless paper now. Her door chimed. She hoped it might be Jiho, but instead found her neighbor, Kira Thess. The Altarian woman had always been polite but distant. "I wanted to return this," Kira said, holding out a book Hana had lent her months ago, "and to say that I think it's best if we don't interact anymore. The new regulations, you understand." "Kira, we've been neighbors for 2 years." "Yes. Well, things change. I have a family to think about. Association with mixed individuals could affect my children's future opportunities." After Kira left, Hana's communicator buzzed with messages. One by one, her remaining friends and acquaintances sent polite notes ending their relationships. Even Dr. Yenny, the elderly Centaurian who had mentored her in graduate school, sent a formal message explaining that she could no longer provide references or recommendations. The next day, Hana went to the human maintenance levels. She needed to see Jiho, needed someone who would remind her that she still had value as a person. She found him in the main engineering section. But he wasn't alone. 3 security officers surrounded him, 2 Altarians and 1 Centaurian. Their leader, a tall Altarian named Commander Dex, was speaking in stern tones. "Your association with the mixed individual Hana Voss has been noted," Commander Dex said. As a human, you already hold a marginal position on this station. Continued fraternization with genetic deviants will result in immediate termination of your employment. Jiho's jaw was tight, but his voice remained calm. Hana is my friend. She's done nothing wrong. She exists, the Centaurian officer said. That's wrong enough. Mixed bloods spread confusion and weakness wherever they go. You humans should understand this. You're already the least advanced species in the galaxy. We understand plenty, Jiho replied. We understand that treating people badly because of their genetics is the mark of a backward society. Commander Dex stepped closer. Be very careful, human. Your people have no power here. We allow you to remain on this station out of charity, nothing more. Push us too far, and you'll find yourselves back on your primitive world where you belong. Bo. Security officers left without noticing Hana hiding behind a support beam. She waited until they were gone before approaching Jiho. I heard what they said, she told him. You shouldn't risk your job for me. Jiho looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. Do you really think I care more about this job than I do about you? You should. I'm nothing now. I have no career, no friends, no future. Why would you throw away your life for someone like me? Because you're not someone like you. You're Hana. You're brilliant and kind and strong. You're my friend, and I don't abandon my friends. That night, Hana tried to send a message to her parents on their homeworlds. She thought maybe the new regulations would make them realize how far the galaxy had fallen into prejudice. Maybe they would finally reach out to their daughter. Her mother's reply came first. I cannot acknowledge having a mixed child. It would damage my standing in the diplomatic corps. Her father's message was shorter. You made your choice when you refused genetic modification. Live with the consequences. Hana deleted both messages and sat in the dark, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there were worlds where she might find acceptance, but she had no money to book passage and no one to help her start over. The next morning brought worse news. The station's few other mixed heritage residents had been given 24 hours to leave. Security would provide transport to designated colonies where genetic deviants could live without contaminating pure societies. Hana packed her few belongings and went to find Jiho one last time. She found him in his small quarters, sitting at a desk covered with technical manuals. I came to say goodbye, she said. Where are you going? Colony World 847. It's mostly a mining operation, but they need basic lab technicians. People like me. Jiho stood up, his face serious. Hana, I have something to tell you. What? I've been thinking about what you said about your research. About quantum biology and universal medical treatments. He pulled out a data pad covered with notes and diagrams. I've been reading your published papers. All of them. Hana looked at the pad in surprise. Why? Because I wanted to understand your work, and because I think you're right. The galaxy needs scientists who can think beyond species boundaries. He met her eyes. I think you could change everything if you had the chance. That chance is gone now. Maybe not. There are other places in the galaxy, independent worlds that don't follow council regulations, research stations funded by private groups, even some human colonies that would welcome your expertise. Jiho, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but marry me. The words hung in, the air between them. Hana stared at him, certain she had misheard. What? Marry me, Hana. Come to Earth. Human space doesn't follow Galactic Council rules about genetic purity. You could continue your research there. You could be free to be yourself. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Jiho stepped closer. I love you, Hana. Not because you need rescuing, but because you're amazing. Because you make me want to be a better person. Because when I imagine my future, you're the only person I want to share it with. Hana felt tears starting in her eyes. Jiho, you barely know me, and I'm not even fully human. So? I'm not fully Altarian or Centaurian either. We're both just people trying to make our way in a galaxy that's forgotten how to be kind. He took her hands in his. I know this sounds crazy. I know we haven't known each other very long. But sometimes the best decisions are the ones that feel right in your heart. even when they don't make sense to your head. Hana looked at this human who had shown her more kindness in 3 months than she had received in 28 years of life, who valued her mind and respected her dreams, who was offering her not just marriage, but hope. "Are you sure?" she whispered. "I'm sure." "The question is, are you?" For the first time in weeks, Hana smiled. "Ask me again." "Will you marry me, Hana Voss?" "Yes, Park Jiho. Yes, I will marry you." News of the engagement spread through the station faster than Hana expected. Within hours, her door chimed with visitors she had never met before. Captain Lee Minho was the first to arrive. The weathered human transport pilot had kind eyes and a warm smile that reminded Hana of her grandfather from long ago. "So you're the young lady who captured our Jiho's heart," he said, offering her a small wrapped gift. "Welcome to the family." "Family?" Hana asked. "All humans in space are family," Captain Lee explained. "We stick together because nobody else will. When one of us finds happiness, we all celebrate." The gift was a small piece of jade carved into the shape of Earth's moon. "It belonged to my grandmother," Captain Lee said. "She gave it to me when I left Seoul for the stars. Now I'm passing it to you." Before Hana could fully process this gesture, more humans arrived. Dr. Choi Yuna, the station's human medical officer, brought homemade cookies. Engineer Kim Dae-ho carried a bottle of rice wine. Maintenance worker Song Mira had made a beautiful scarf in traditional Korean colors. "We don't have much," Dr. Choi said, "but we share what we have. That's the human way." Hana had never experienced anything like this. On Altarian worlds, gifts came with obligations. Centaurian presents were calculated gestures of political alliance, but these humans gave freely, expecting nothing in return except her happiness. "I don't understand," she told Jiho later that evening as they sat surrounded by gifts from people who barely knew her. "Why are they being so kind to me?" "Because you make me happy," Jiho said simply. "And because they see what I see in you." "What's that?" "Someone who's been hurt by the galaxy's stupidity, but who still believes in making things better. Someone who deserves love and respect and the chance to do amazing work." The next day brought a visit from Elder Park Suman, Jiho's aunt, and the unofficial leader of the station's human community. She was a small, dignified woman in her 70s who had served as Earth's ambassador to 3 different worlds before retiring. "Child," she said to Hana, "sit with me. I want to tell you about Earth's history." Elder Park opened a photo album, filled with images Hana had never seen before. Pictures of humans with different skin colors, facial features, and clothing styles. 200 years ago, humans fought terrible wars over differences smaller than what separates you from your parents, Elder Park explained. People killed each other because their ancestors came from different continents, because they spoke different languages, because they worshipped different gods. She turned the page to show images of destruction and conflict. "We nearly destroyed ourselves with hatred and fear, but we learned something that the rest of the galaxy hasn't figured out yet." "What's that?" "That differences make us stronger, not weaker. That the best solutions come when different minds work together. That love doesn't follow the rules that governments try to make." Elder Park showed her pictures of mixed couples from Earth's history. Scientists, artists, leaders, and ordinary people who had found love across cultural boundaries. "Your situation isn't new, child. Humans have been dealing with prejudice about mixed heritage for centuries. We know it's wrong because we've seen how much beauty and strength comes from diversity." "But I'm not human," Hana said. "Love is love, intelligence is intelligence, kindness is kindness. These things don't change based on which planet your grandparents came from." That evening, the human community held an impromptu party to celebrate the engagement. They converted a storage bay into a gathering space, hanging lights and bringing food from their small quarters. Hana found herself surrounded by 23 humans, the entire human population of New Andara Station. Engineers, medical staff, transport workers, and maintenance crews all mixed together without any regard for rank or position. "Tell us about your research," Dr. Choi said as they sat around improvised tables. Hana hesitated. She had grown used to people either dismissing her work or stealing credit for it. But these humans listened with genuine interest as she explained quantum cellular structures and their potential medical applications. "So you could develop treatments that work for any species?" asked technician Wu Jin-Su. "Theoretically, yes, but the research requires equipment I can't access anymore." "What kind of equipment?" Captain Lee wanted to know. As Hana listed the instruments she needed, the humans began talking among themselves. Captain Lee knew a research station near Titan that might have quantum scanners. Dr. Choi had contacts at Earth's medical universities. Engineer Kim had friends working on similar projects in the outer colonies. "We could help you set up a lab," Elder Park said. "Earth's government has grants for promising research. They don't care about your genetic heritage. They care about results." "You would do that for me?" "We would do that for anyone with your talent and dedication," Dr. Choi replied. "But especially for family." There was that word again. Family. Hana had spent her life searching for a place where she belonged, and these humans offered it without question or condition. The next few days brought new challenges. Station security increased their harassment of both Hana and Jiho. Commander Dex issued an official warning that humans associating with genetic deviance would face job termination. Several human workers received visits from security officers asking about their loyalty to Galactic Order. But the human community's response surprised everyone. Instead of distancing themselves from Hana and Jiho, they drew closer together. When security officers came to question Dr. Choi about treating Hana's minor injuries, Captain Lee and 3 other humans accompanied her to the meeting. When Commander Dex tried to intimidate Engineer Kim, Elder Park filed formal complaints with the station administrator. "They can't fire all of us," Captain Lee told Jiho. "This station needs human engineers to maintain the systems we built. They can make threats, but they can't function without us." The human solidarity had an unexpected effect on other species. A few younger Altarians and Centaurians began quietly questioning the Purity Initiative. Dr. Yenny, Hana's old mentor, sent a private message saying she disagreed with the new policies but was too afraid of losing her position to speak out publicly. Even some mixed heritage individuals who had initially shunned Hana began reaching out. They formed a small, secret support network, sharing resources and information about colonies that might welcome them. But the most meaningful response came from an unexpected source. Jiho received a message from Earth's Ministry of Science offering Hana a research position at the Seoul Institute of Xenobiology. The salary was modest, but it included full laboratory access and funding for her quantum biology research. "How did they know about me?" Hana asked, when Jiho showed her the offer. "Elder Park sent them your published papers. Dr. Choi wrote a recommendation based on your medical knowledge. Captain Lee vouched for your character." Jiho smiled. "They all believed in you before you even knew they existed." "And what about you?" "What did you tell them?" "I told them the truth, that you're the most brilliant scientist I've ever met, that you have insights about biology that could help millions of people across the galaxy, that any institution lucky enough to have you would be getting a treasure." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "You really believe that?" "I believe in you, Hana. I believe in your mind, your heart, your strength, and your dreams. I believe that the galaxy's rejection of you is their loss and our gain." As they prepared to leave New Andara Station, Hana realized that her perspective had completely changed. 3 months ago, she had felt like a failure, rejected by everyone who mattered. Now she understood that the people who rejected her never mattered at all. The people who mattered were the ones who saw her value and chose to support her dreams. The people who mattered were sitting around her right now, planning a wedding that would celebrate love instead of genetics, diversity instead of purity, hope instead of fear. "Jiho," she said, as they watched the humans transform another storage bay into a wedding chapel. "I have something to tell you." "What's that?" "I love you too. Not because you rescued me, but because you showed me what it means to be part of a real family. Because you make me want to be the best version of myself. Because when I think about the future, I can't imagine it without you." Jiho took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Then let's build that future together." The wedding took place in the observation deck of New Andara Station, with the stars themselves as witnesses. The human community had worked for 3 days to transform the cold metal space into something beautiful. Captain Lee had somehow acquired flowering plants from the hydroponics bay. Dr. Choi contributed silk banners in traditional Korean colors. Elder Park brought out family heirlooms, teacups, and ceremonial items that had traveled from Earth to the stars. Hana wore a simple white dress that Song Mira had sewn, combined with a traditional Korean hair ornament that Elder Park insisted she borrow. Jiho wore his best maintenance uniform, cleaned and pressed until it looked almost formal. "We don't have a priest," Elder Park announced as the small group gathered. "But we have something better. We have love, family, and hope for the future." She began the ceremony with words in Korean, then switched to Galactic Standard so Hana could understand every promise being made. "Marriage," Elder Park said, "is not about two people becoming one. It's about two people choosing to build something. Together, that's stronger than either could create alone." As Jiho and Hana exchanged vows they had written themselves, something unexpected happened. A small group of non-humans appeared at the observation deck's entrance. Dr. Yenny stood there, with 3 younger Centaurians. Behind them were 2 Altarian researchers and a mixed heritage woman Hana recognized from the lower levels. Commander Dex appeared with security officers, clearly intending to break up the gathering. But Dr. Yenny stepped forward. "This ceremony violates no station regulations," she said firmly. "These are 2 sentient beings making a legal commitment according to human law." "The Purity Initiative," Commander Dex began. "Applies to Galactic Council members," Dr. Yenny interrupted. "Humans are not council members. They can marry whoever they choose." The security officers looked uncertain. Elder Park used their hesitation to continue the ceremony. "Do you, Park Jiho, promise to love and support Hana Voss through whatever challenges the galaxy brings your way?" "I do," Jiho said, his voice clear and strong. "Do you, Hana Voss, promise to love and support Park Jiho and to build a future together? Based on kindness, understanding, and shared dreams?" "I do," Hana replied, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Then by the power of human tradition and the love of this chosen family, I pronounce you married." The small crowd erupted in celebration. Even the non-human guests clapped and cheered. Commander Dex and his officers retreated, clearly unsure how to handle a situation that was technically legal, but politically complicated. The reception was simple but joyful. The humans had prepared Korean foods alongside dishes from their various Earth regions. Dr. Yenny brought Centaurian honey wine. The young Altarians contributed crystalline fruits that sparkled like diamonds. "This is how it should be," Dr. Yenny told Hana during the celebration. "Different peoples sharing food, traditions, and happiness. The Purity Initiative is fear disguised as policy." 3 days later, Hana and Jiho boarded Captain Lee's transport ship for the journey to Earth. As New Andara Station grew smaller in the view screen, Hana felt a mixture of sadness and excitement. "Nervous?" Jiho asked. "A little. What if Earth doesn't live up to your promises?" "Earth isn't perfect," Jiho admitted, "but it's a place where you can be yourself without apology, where your work will be judged by its merit, not your genetics." The journey to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, Hana worked with Dr. Choi to document her research methods and prepare presentations for the Seoul Institute. Captain Lee shared stories of Earth's diverse cultures and helped her practice pronunciation of Korean words. When they finally entered Earth's solar system, Hana pressed her face to the view screen in wonder. The blue and green planet looked so alive compared to the artificial environments she had known all her life. "That's home," Jiho said softly. The Seoul Institute of Xenobiology exceeded Hana's wildest dreams. Dr. Kim Tae-hyun, the institute's director, welcomed her with enthusiasm that had nothing to do with politics or genetics. "Your papers on quantum cellular structures are brilliant," he told her during their first meeting. "We've been trying to solve similar problems for years. Your unique perspective could be exactly what we need." Hana's new laboratory was 3 times larger than any research space she had ever accessed. The equipment was state-of-the-art, and her research budget was larger than her entire previous salary. More importantly, her colleagues treated her as an equal. Dr. Sarah Chen, whose grandparents came from 3 different continents, became a close friend and research partner. Professor Michael Okafor, whose family history spanned 4 Earth cultures, shared insights about combining different scientific approaches. "Diversity isn't just politically correct here," Dr. Chen explained over lunch one day. "It's practically necessary. The galaxy's problems are too complex for any single perspective to solve. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Hana made her first major breakthrough. By combining Altarian telepathic biology with Centaurian analytical methods and human collaborative techniques, she developed a treatment protocol that could heal cellular damage across multiple species. The research caught attention throughout human space and beyond. Independent colonies requested copies of her work. Some Galactic Council worlds quietly began funding similar research, despite the Purity Initiative's official stance. "You're changing minds," Jiho told her as they read messages from scientists across the galaxy. "People are starting to see that cooperation works better than separation." Their personal life was equally fulfilling. They bought a small house near the Institute with a garden where Hana could grow plants from a dozen different worlds. Jiho found work with Earth's Space Infrastructure Division, designing better systems for the growing human colonies. On weekends, they visited Jiho's extended family. His cousins and aunts welcomed Hana without question, including her in holiday celebrations and family traditions. For the first time in her life, she experienced what it meant to belong somewhere without having to prove her worth. The turning point came 18 months after their wedding. Hana received an unexpected message from Dr. Kellyan, her former supervisor. "On New Andara Station, Dr. Voss," the message began, "I hope this finds you well. I am writing to inform you that the Galactic Council has begun reconsidering the Purity Initiative. Your recent research publications have gained significant attention among Council scientists." The message went on to explain that several worlds were experiencing medical crises that could only be solved using Hana's cross-species treatment protocols. The rigid genetic policies that had driven her away were now preventing the galaxy from accessing the solutions they desperately needed. "The Council would like to offer you a position as Director of Interspecies Medical Research," Dr. Kellyan continued. "The salary and benefits would be substantial, and you would have unlimited research funding." Hana showed the message to Jiho. "What do you think? I think it's ironic that they're offering you everything they said you could never have, just because they need your help now. Are you suggesting I shouldn't take it? I'm suggesting you decide based on what makes you happy, not what makes them comfortable." Hana considered the offer for several days. The position would be prestigious and well-funded. She could help millions of people across the galaxy. But it would also mean returning to a society that had rejected her and only changed its mind when her work became too valuable to ignore. In the end, her decision was easy. "Thank you for your offer," she wrote back to Dr. Kellyan, "but I must decline. I have found a place where my work is valued and my family is respected. However, I would be happy to collaborate with Galactic Council researchers through joint projects and shared publications." The response was everything Hana had hoped for. Within months, scientists from across the galaxy were coming to Earth to study her methods. The Sol Institute became a center for interspecies medical research, with Hana as its leading expert. More importantly, other mixed heritage individuals began seeking refuge on human worlds. Earth's government established scholarships and research, positioned specifically for scientists who had been excluded from their home societies because of their genetics. "We're building something new," Hana told Jiho on their second wedding anniversary as they watched the sunset from their garden. "A place where being different is seen as valuable instead of dangerous." "You're building something new," Jiho corrected. "I'm just lucky enough to be part of it." Hana smiled and took his hand. "We're building it together. That's the human way, isn't it? Nobody succeeds alone." 3 years later, when their daughter was born with Hana's golden-flecked eyes and Jiho's warm smile, the little girl became a symbol of hope for the galaxy's future. Scientists, diplomats, and ordinary citizens from dozens of worlds sent gifts and congratulations. The child would grow up in a universe where her mixed heritage was celebrated rather than hidden, where her unique perspective was seen as an advantage rather than a disadvantage, where love was stronger than prejudice and acceptance was more powerful than fear. As Hana held her daughter and looked out at the stars, she thought about the long journey that had brought her to this moment. The rejection and pain had been real, but they had led her to something better than she could have imagined. She had been rejected by everyone who couldn't.